We're here with a group of swim enthusiasts like we've never seen before. Welcome to COVID-19, and it's brought us this way to get together. Welcome, everybody. We got a killer lineup of a bunch of people that have contributed to the swimming world in a new way, and we're thrilled to be able to come together as a global community. So lovely to get connected with all of you. Look at this. We got Brett Hawk from Inside with Brett Hawk, world-class coach and swimmer in his own right. We've got Coleman from Swim. We've got Luca from Corsi4 magazine in Italy. We've got the Swimsuit guys hanging out with us in the UK. Cheers, guys. We got Daniel from Lane 4 podcast. Welcome, Daniel. And then we've got, let's see, is Andy on? Hey, we got Andy from Swimming World. What's up, Andy?
What's up?
And then from the Social Kick side, I'm Brian Lundquist. We got Dr. John Mullen and Luke Paddington. Everybody here, cheers. Saw an awesome season of swimming, and thanks, first of all, for coming here to hang out with us today. Right on. So let's get into it. We just saw a killer final, a lot of intriguing storylines to season 2, the finale, Cali Condors, a dominant performance. I want to go to Brett first. Being straight out of, you were in the ISL last year, man. What did you think about the final?
Oh, hey, what's up, everybody? I thought it was brilliant. Crazy swimming. I think it brought the best out in everybody internationally. We saw some incredible results today, and I was just on the edge of my seat the whole time, cheering and drinking. So, fantastic event.
Coleman, what stood out to you?
I mean, this season especially, you see, we saw this quintessential Dressel taper. He killed it as we've seen him do at so many other big meets. But I mean, the jackpot rule really, I think Cali benefited from that the most, and you saw them really jackpot themselves from third place last year in last year's final to 2020 ISL champions.
Yeah, huge impact to the jackpot, and we'll get into some of the rules stuff. I want to go to Swimsuit, guys. We saw some huge swims out of the Brits this weekend. What was your reaction to the final?
Well, I'm glad they actually got accredited for their British records in the overall presentation of the meet. Rowley just seemed to miss Duncan Scott's 200 freestyle, which must have been the 4th fastest of all time. And it took him about 10 extra events to realise how quick he'd gone, because Townley had set an American record in the same race. But yeah, the Brits are great. Duncan was great. Sub 4 and a 400 IM and a 140 low, 203 in one session. I don't think many people have ever done that.
I think he nailed the description of Duncan, that he may be the most versatile swimmer in the world right now, for sure. Anybody can go 46 low and then show up in short course and swim 4 IM is kind of insane. Man, Andy, what did you think about the final?
Just how fast the meet was. I mean, how many records ended up getting broken, world records, American records. I mean, we hadn't been racing and training for however many months, and then these guys are throwing up times that they've never done before. So just how fast the meet was. I think them staying in one location for 6 weeks, I think that played a part in it, and that there's no travel and no jet lag. I think that definitely played a part in it, but just how fast the meet was, that was amazing. How many records went down today? Or 1 or 2, and just 5 on the whole weekend. It was amazing.
Yeah, killer amount of records. I know ISL is not about times per se, but even though it's not about times, I think the times would surprise people, including the casual swim fans or even casual fans who don't understand that context is really important to understand the quality of the product that you're seeing. I don't know, on that point, high quality swimming, Sergio, what's your reaction to this weekend of racing?
I think it's great. I think it's been a very exciting 6 weeks. You could see the plan of people, how to go in there a little bit tired and taper through the natural progression in an organic way through the meet, and it paid off for a lot of people. So it's exciting. I think it's most exciting is hopefully it's a turning point for swimming, and professional swimming that I think has so much potential,
Yeah, for sure. Daniel, what were your thoughts?
Over the final, I thought it was interesting to see all the strategies for all the teams. I saw a couple of changes in the lineup for London Roar. Unfortunately, didn't pay off well for them. But it's interesting to see how they're looking at the meet as a whole and not just to win a few races. But overall, the league, I thought it was interesting how a lot of swimmers were changing teams from what they had last year. So that was interesting to see, and I know there's some talk on what's going to happen next season, if there's going to be some sort of draft or something, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, a lot of impactful rule changes and a lot of things that'll impact the strategy for sure of not only roster building, but also lineup building. Luca, what stood out to you this weekend?
Oh, guys, I'm crazy for ISL. We in Italy, we didn't. As I told you some week ago, we are not used to this kind of swimming. We are old school swimming, like Olympic one, and ISL for us is like crazy things. And I am a big fan, and in Italy we are a big fan of this. And the final was something unexpected and very, very exciting for us. And we are also very, very happy that Benedetta Pilato was in it, and she did a good job in it for energy standard.
Yeah, she did. That's good. And I think it's interesting to see some of the different national representations on each of the teams. I'm curious to get some feedback from the group on that. In fact, maybe Luca, I want to put you on the spot on that question. Is do you feel like teams having alignment around, let's say, a high percentage of their roster being from the same country, is that a good thing for the league, or is parity across and sort of, let's say, maybe free agency in the future a better thing across the league? What are your thoughts, Luca?
I hope in the future can be a draft because, in my opinion, it's good that the team have a fan base in one nation or in one city, like Rome for Aqua Centurions or London for London Run, etc. Maybe I think next year the Aussies that this year was not in the London Roar, maybe the Aussies some Aussies can be in a Centurion because we have difficult for the female team, and I think that to improve the competition, a draft is the thing to do.
Yeah, so I want to go to the standout moment from the season and start there, because I'll start us off. I think that moment when the Aussies pulled out, I fully expected to totally crush London Roar, and I think was a big moment in terms of the league where the chips could have fallen that direction for a lot of countries, and we didn't see that. There weren't a lot of other nations, or in fact, perhaps any, that decided to pull out the way that the Australians did, and here we still saw London in the final, and they still came third and had a good result. So
I want to say something on that. I think first of all, congratulations to the Cali Condors. Great championship win. I didn't pick it. Condors didn't pick it. It will just cheers at any point here. But didn't pick it at the start of the season, and man, they come out swinging. But let's be honest, the Aussies are generally the best swimmers on the planet. I mean, let's get serious. Come on. I mean, we couldn't even mention the British records because no one knew what they were. So, but I think London had a fair shot of winning this thing if they had had the Aussies with them. But look, it was all Cali this year, and it was a fantastic championship.
So true. So true what you said. The London team really did need the Australian support. But that being said, I'm not seeing Carl Chalmers split 46-1 on any relay. So that's long course.
Yeah, I mean,
they still came third, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, Andy, what stood out to you this season? What was one defining moment for you in 2020 ISL?
Brent Hayden, man. I mean, how old is he? Like 40? I mean, he's up there. And he came back and went like 46 something 100 free. I mean, I don't know if a lot of people thought he was going to do something this season, but I mean, he came out and he was competitive, and he like looks like he was 10 years ago when he was one of the best sprinters in the world. And here he is at whatever age he is, and he's killing it. I mean, him, Nicholas Santos, a lot of those older guys, I think with the break and the virus happening, I think a lot of people kind of wrote off those guys over the age of 30, and here they are in the ISL crushing it. So him, I think Kosuke Hagino as well for everything that he did this year. It's almost like we forgot that he took a bunch of time off last year, and he did really well for the Frog Kings. I think he was undefeated in the 4AM. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Question mark? I don't know.
I didn't watch the 4AM.
Yeah, I'm with Brett. I don't watch the 400s.
Brett, you were watching the 800 free time trial, though, right? Really tuned in?
Yeah, that was a toilet break.
Here's to that.
Coleman, standout moment of the season.
Yeah, I think kind of the opposite. I was thinking like the swimmers that, I mean, Katinka Hozu was a bummer. It was in her hometown. Over the 6 weeks, she had some strong swims, but we didn't see the Iron Lady that we've kind of all grown to love and support. And I think that was for me the kind of the bummer standout. I would have liked to see some swimmers step up and just perform a little bit better, but I think overall the fact that we can't see world records, Andy had a really good point. After this quarantine period has been really cool. I mean, seeing Dressel go 49.2 after he goes 49.8 was just like, oh, I think that first 100 IM, he went 49.8, and we saw the Cali Condors get all 37 points. Marcin Cheeselock, honestly, has been the surprise for me. Seeing him go 1-2 with Caleb in the 100 fly, 50 fly, 100 IM. That was like, oh, this dude's really back on form. It's been some good moments.
Daniel, what stood out to you? Standout moment from 2020 ISL?
Not specifically a moment, but just the jackpot times. I liked how more strategic the competition was. It was just not try and go out there and get a win. You had to still go fast, even if you were winning by a large margin, because you wanted to get the points of the last places. So I really liked that. And I liked how Energy Standard got better as the league went on. So, they didn't have the first meet, and some of the swimmers had pretty terrible races compared to their usual performances. And I liked how at the end they put it together and got the job done.
Well, I want to ask the group, because we talked about this a little bit before we went live, but do you think that Cali Condors would have won the final? Same 4 teams, would they have won the final if the rules were the same as last year?
Surely.
Yeah.
Still would have won. No jackpot points.
I mean, there was no weakness for them, right? I mean, you can say men's breaststroke, but then Nick Fink stepped up and did everything that he did. I mean, was there any weakness for them? I don't know where Energy Standard would have made up those points without the jackpot. I mean, maybe Adam Peaty with his swims, but I don't think there was any weakness for them this year.
Yeah, I was going to say the swimmer of the meet for me, and maybe even the season, was Haley Flickinger. I mean, that girl just stepped up and showed up. And then you put in Olivia Smoliga, who wasn't necessarily great last year, who has completely dominated this season. So I think with those 2 women, plus with the way Caleb was swimming, and then the other pieces that you talk about with Cali, I just think they're unbeatable.
Yeah, with Margalis stepping out, Haley stepped up big time. It made almost not even a big factor that Melanie Margalis wasn't there for the Condors, because Flickinger just topped into every event they needed her to.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, so in terms of last season, we had some people that were around that were really impactful. Chalmers was one. Who did you miss this season? Maybe it could be somebody that didn't perform as well, or just aren't in the league this year. Who did you miss?
I've got to say Vladimir Morozov. I think he's almost so exciting to watch.
He was there.
But,
Not really.
I mean, if someone who's 20.2 or 20.30, 21.0 is not really showing up, is it? I think 47.8 in one of the 100 frees for a guy who's been 44. So, yeah, he disappointed, and he said he hasn't trained, and you've got to understand it. But I love watching the guy. He's normally so consistent and so fast in season, and he just wasn't doing his normal business. And he could have been a big game changer for the Tokyo Frog Kings in sneaking into that final if he was, jackpotting people left, right, and centre.
Well, I'm going to put one back on you then. Your boy, Bryn Proud. I think Energy really missed Bryn Proud this year.
I don't think he made it on a single A relay. He got one individual swim in the whole meet.
What happened to that guy?
I don't know.
I think that's a really interesting point. We've seen this rise of racing as training, right? And like people use racing as a way to get in shape. Katinka, Chad, Michael Andrew, Vlad, Morozov. And I think you saw a lot of those people struggle, right? Or not do as well. Or maybe even get better. I think like Renomi Chroma Yo-Yo kind of got better as she got more races in her, but Chad got better. Michael Andrew got better. But a lot of those people who typically race so many meets and so many events throughout the season really struggled as compared when they hadn't been racing for 6 months, as compared to those who might have been out of the pool for a while, but then got right back into training and thrive under that big training block.
Yeah, and ISL's brought out some names too that I don't know, at least I didn't know before. I mean, last year it was Minna Atherton. This year, maybe this year and last year combined, it's Beryl. Are we going to see Beryl winning Olympic medals next year? She's dominant in this format, but in the long course pool, maybe not as much. And who else do we see dominating in this format that seems to be a household name when we talk ISL, but we go back into long course. Are we going to see them be relevant?
I think something that's really cool is some of the NCAA and American guys that when it comes to Olympic trials, they'll come, unfortunately, 3rd, 4th, 5th. People like Beta Nelson. Smaliga's going to have a tough time making an Olympic team next year. And these are guys that are thriving and winning points left, right, and centre. I think in the women's 200 backstroke, like 5 or 6 of the top 10 times were done by American women through the whole teams. And I think it really gets to show Americans' depth when it comes to Olympic trials, or world trials, they don't get to make the international teams. Whereas here, they're going and setting, some of the fastest times in the world. So the NCAA guys, men and women, people like Coleman Stewart as well. He weren't winning races all the time, but he was up there in the backstrokes, getting faster and faster every meet, and creating a little bit of excitement with his Ryan Murphy beef as well.
Sergio, you've worked directly with several of the athletes that are in this league and, obviously coached people in different formats. How well does ISL and the short course meter format, excelling in that format, how well does it translate? We know they're very different, short and long course, but how well does it translate?
I think short course and long course are two different sports. I've always said it, and that's why you see so many people in short course yards and short course meters swimming really fast, and then they can barely make it the last 25% of the race in long course. Mm-hmm. So, but I think more and more, some of these guys they have or girls that have more years to race, they're adapting their strokes a little bit better for long course, and they're finishing up their races better. So I think this might help some of the older guys and girls just be better at long course. But I think I wouldn't worry. There's so many fast swimmers in the world that what we need is the ISL to keep going to promote swimming and to bring money into the sport, so we don't lose programs and people can keep training and pursuing excellence. I think that's probably the most important thing.
Brian, I want to say something. The highlight moment, and Sergio's touching it twice. Don't you guys think the ISL has almost saved swimming in a sort of way? What would we have done this year? How many athletes would have retired knowing that the Olympics got canceled? How how many of us would have watched swimming at all this year? Would we have watched the US Open last week? I don't know. That would have happened. So did ISL help save our sports or some careers at least?
Well, the fact we're even having this conversation after the ISL, I think that kind of speaks for itself. We're not having a StreamYard conversation after the World Cup or after the US Open. So I think the fact that we've been following this for 6 weeks, all of us, I think that says enough for itself that swimming, to have it around for this long, even in a year where we're supposed to have an Olympics, I think that really, the ISL really, I don't want to say it saved swimming, but it definitely kept it conscious in our minds. And I think it helped the swimmers, especially, to have something to shoot for and to have something to train for.
It's like you guys were talking about Caleb Dressel or one swimmer or the other being the ones that really make this thing great. But I think 6 weeks with all this COVID and all these political implications with every country and with everything that's going on, 6 weeks of these athletes being in one place and being able to compete nonstop, it's the biggest thing there. Forget about world records. No, about national records. I think that's the biggest thing that we've gained, and it's the starring thing is the ISL itself. Now let's see what happens if they can keep going and where the money comes and how the business plan that they have to develop more teams, less teams, free market, whatever it is that you guys talk about, all these like fantasy leagues, or whatever it is. But let's see where the money comes in, so we can keep going with this.
I think it's the most exciting thing to happen to swimming in, well, I don't know, maybe in my lifetime. And I think that because I don't remember having so much enthusiasm around something that is so new and different. We haven't had an opportunity to dream. I mean, look how long it takes for FINA to add certain events to the Olympic Games. It took 20 years to add the women's mile and the men's 800 just to equal out. And we're still not equal between world championships and Olympics. I think the rest of the sport moved so slow that having kind of this own format, it's like a startup. You move fast and you invest and you do things differently than the rest of the world. And it's opportunity to do that. And for all of us to participate in it is for sure the most exciting thing that I've seen. And I think I really want for it to stick around, but question to the group is, how long is it actually around? Brett, you were part of it before. You've seen some of the internals. I don't know if it's financially viable. How long do you think the ISL is around? Is it here to stay?
Well, listen, I saw some of the dirtiness. I saw some of the stuff that didn't sit well with me. Not stuff that I've necessarily spoken public about, but it's there. And I think recently SwimSwam, for instance, and maybe Coleman can answer this a little bit better, has put out some information that maybe the public weren't attuned to in terms of obviously what the French director of Energy Standard came out and said in his public letter recently, and then also the story that SwimSwam put out about them not paying their bills from some of the vendors, and some bills aren't being paid. So I saw some of this stuff myself from behind the scenes. And so I know that it's not all rainbows and butterflies for International Swim League. And so maybe Coleman can give us a little bit more insights into the stories that they put out and some of the things that you're hearing, or Andy from Swimming World. You guys are more in tune with some of the public stuff that's coming out. Coleman, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a hard road for ISL moving forward. I only know basically the public side of it, but it's like Brett said, they're not paying their bills to these production companies that are putting on massive productions for them, but you never really know exactly what's going on behind the scenes. Maybe the production company only fulfilled half of their contract with ISL, and so ISL is like, well, we don't want to pay you. You still owe us, these pieces of media that you'd promised us. Who knows? And in terms of the GM for Energy Standard, you read the letter and you can kind of read between the lines. Constantine rules the ISL and he funds it. So basically what he says goes. And it's like, that's like you said, that's like a startup. That's like any company until you get other investors, until you make it more public, more open, and you have people having more of a say in it. It's like whoever has the money is going to get to call the shots. And it sounded like Jean-Francois, he wasn't all about that. He wanted to kind of do things his way, and basically Constantine was like, no, this is what I want you here for. You're going to do this. That's that. And so, it seems like they wanted two different things, and then there was a split. So again, you never really know what's going on behind the scenes, or you never know the whole story, but I think it's a tough road for the future. It was awesome that they got to pull this off and do it. And like you said, most exciting thing to happen in swimming down in our lifetime. And it was great. This is a great last 6 weeks, but yeah, moving forward financially, how long can it be sustained?
I think it can be sustained as long as Constantine wants to be sustained. It's if you look into I'm not a business major or anything like that, but I've been around the bush for a little bit and living in different countries, been with different companies. If he wants to sustain it, he's going to sustain it because he has the money to sustain it. If he doesn't want to open it up and he doesn't want to, for whatever reasons he have, if you understand business, he might have some other issues of why he doesn't want to open it up and he wants to have a monopoly of it. But it's going to be up to him. And I think it's sustainable if he wants to. It's up to him. It's not just, it's not sustainable because it's too much money. There's more behind the scenes that we know, and if he wants to, he will. He has the money to make it sustainable.
I'm always amazed at obscure sponsors that professional leagues can come up with, especially if you look at something. This is an obscure league, but NASCAR, for example, has cars that are completely covered with logos, and there's seem to be an endless supply of sponsors. They're always replacing them. I know we hear about difficulties with filling sponsorship, but stadiums are getting sponsored, and I always wonder about the actual return on some of those investments, but yet the sponsorships continue to come, and there's more money in swimming and Olympic sports now more than there ever has before, and part of that is because of access to the athletes. And I believe that if athletes can continue, perhaps through this type of forum, we've seen a lot of vloggers and people doing it on their own, but the more access that we can give to the people that are actually doing the sports, and perhaps some of the onus is on the swimmers themselves to provide that accessibility, through that, they make themselves more marketable. And I think through that marketability comes commercial opportunity for investors for a league like this, but we have to make these standout personalities in Olympic sports bigger names, and I think that social is and media is allowing us to go that direction.
But also, there's a lot of companies. Sorry, Brett.
Coleman's out. We're just saying goodbye to him.
Cheers. Cheers.
I'm out. Thanks, guys.
Later.
Happy ISL.
See you, Coleman.
There are a lot of companies that they know they have to lose money, and they have a certain amount of money every year that they're going to lose. You can call it any way. You can call it losing, or you can call it something different. But and there's many companies that's why you see many sponsors coming up, or companies buying royalties of a name of another company and putting the money into those places and losing it. And after 2 years, they disappear, or they come back with something else. So there's a way of this being sustainable if they want to. I think so. They already started. The hardest part is to start something like this. I think they can keep it going.
Yeah, but they have to get, end of the day, business depends on the income as well. And Brett, you talked about rivalries and backstories. If you're not a swimmer, you don't know who these people are, and you don't give a crap. I'm sorry. And there's no tension in the sport. Any film and story needs tension, needs a good, bad, needs the overcoming something. And we don't have that. We kind of know, and we know that maybe one swimmer might be doing a fly kick and breaststroke and the other swimmer's not, and that's a tension for us. But the general public doesn't know that. And so we need a little bit better. I mean, yeah, they up their game, but next year we just need some more tension and more storytelling, I think.
Yeah, I think the group here that was here on this program today did a better job of selling the ISL than the ISL did outside of the production they did. They had this wonderful production, and then you had people like us doing the backstories and the selling and I even think that part of the tension that we saw between Coleman Stewart and Ryan Murphy was due to us, like some of the things that we were saying, some of the things we were putting out. I think they caught on to some of that, but the ISL just weren't doing any of that, and that was the sad thing for me, because I saw that in season 1, and I thought, well, I hope they do something in season 2, and it just never progressed into anything different on that side of the line as well. But again, I think the group of us, the stuff that we're doing, has really drawn a bigger crowd into the ISL itself. So I think they have us to thank for that.
And Brett, we need to have more things at stake. Like the Olympics, you stand on those blocks in the Olympic final, you got one shot to win a gold medal. You stand on the blocks at ISL, okay, well, tomorrow maybe I can try again. Tomorrow I can try again. Was it an overkill? Did we have overkill? Was there not enough at stake?
Yeah. Well, I hated the fact that you'd have a world record and then 30 seconds later you'd go to the 400 IM.
Yeah.
Like, oh God. Like, come on, give me something here. Like, let's let this one soak in a little bit. Let's feel this one. Let's talk about it. Let's dramatize it. But boom, straight on the next thing. So I think that helps them a bit.
I think with the final, I thought, what if they stretched out to 3 days? I mean, because right now you have 39 events across 2 days, you have 20 events in a session. It's like sensory overload. And like you said, Brett, it's just like, you have a world record, and then it's like, all right, next event. It's like, wait, I'm still kind of processing this 49.2 I just saw. So, and what if we stretched out to 3 days? What if that's 13 events per session? And you can give more time to put in those personality profiles that NBC is so famous for. And, you give a chance to show, hey, Adam Peaty had a child a couple of weeks ago. Here's pictures of him with his new baby, and give these fans and give the audience a chance to really understand who these people are outside of the pool. And so with 20 events in a session, it's like boom, boom, boom. It's just too much. And so I think if we stretch out at least the final, I mean, if you have Energy Standard and Aqua Centurions in one meet, you really need to just get that done in one day. You don't need 3 days for something like that. And no offense to the Centurions, but in the final, let's stretch it out. Just give us more time to process results. And that's why NCAA works so well, because you have time to understand what each race means. And I think that's kind of what the ISL, at least for the grand final, I think that's what it's missing.
And Andy, we have the Olympics, we have the Olympic medal ceremony. So you get to see this dude on the blocks, and you get to cry with him as he flag waves.
Yeah.
And that we don't have that stuff. A world record, okay, great. He goes to warm down and get ready for his next race. That cheapens it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm all right with the pace, in all honesty. I like how it's pretty quick, but during those breaks, they need to do something else, I think. I mean, I like how they do analysis, and like the NFL, they break down the plays, they do all this. Instead of them just, I know it's tough for Rowdy and those guys to be interviewing people and figuring that out, but maybe breaking down stuff a little bit more. Personally, I would find that a lot more interesting about, oh, this is what happened here. This is what's going on here. That's where they're going to improve. Something where we're getting that next level into it. Maybe a personal story is fine, but, listen to someone out of breath and asking them, what's going on, and then saying, go Bears, isn't doing anything for me.
I think with like celebrating a world record or even processing it, they need to tell people what the world record is before it happens. So, listen, what the world record is. We know what we're looking for Caleb Dressel to go. We know what we're looking for Smaliga to go. But if you watch the Olympics, you've got in the bottom corner the world record, the Olympic record. And we don't have that here. So people love seeing records. They should be celebrating ISL records, celebrating national records, and not expecting the commentators to be telling us that information. If we're like, oh, wow, the ISL record might go here because we're seeing on the bottom left, it's 141 and someone's gone for a 140, we know what we're looking for, and we already don't know that, and we have to have that in post. So if we prepare people for things we might see, it works better like that. And I think even just by telling everyone who's watching the season bests of the athletes before the race, they might be able to watch, oh, Marco Koch's been very close. Let's keep an eye on him, or and they're missing things and storylines just by taking away the time aspect. Times only enrich anything. And I think they can do a lot better with just creating that. That's my point.
Yeah, it'd be good to have someone actually ask some questions at the end of the race too, rather than just make
statements. He's really mastered the non-question question. Like, hey, good race. And they're just like, Oh, I'm supposed to keep going. Yeah, sorry. Like, it's just, I mean, I understand that, you know, I'm sure there's a producer yelling in his ear and there's a lot of stuff going on, but it's just like, come on, give us something more here than just, hey, good race. It's like, okay, yeah, we all just watched it. And Swimsuit guy, I don't know your real name, but you made a good point. The commentators, if
He doesn't have a name. Don't worry.
I'm Sonny, by the way, guys. I'm Sonny.
Irrelevant. Names don't matter. Names don't
Well,
matter.
if they put the times in the corner, then that allows the commentators to focus on what's more important, to give us more insight on who these swimmers are. So they're not like, oh yeah, by the way, that's a record. You know, if they just have that in the corner, I don't know if Omega, if they are in charge of that or whoever, I don't know what you would have to add, but just put a world record pace in the corner so that Danos Rapsis, if we know if he's under world record pace, then we can be like, oh wow, this could be a good swim, or any other swimmer, for example. So because if Caleb goes out 21.7, it's like, wait, is that good? Is that like where does that compare to what we want to see, the world record? So I think they need to put pacing in the corner or something.
Extra information only enriches an experience, and it's not going to alienate anyone. And it's the same as when I watch the relays. I love watching swimming in every capacity in the world. I was watching all the US Open streams even last week. Some of them were terrible, but I was persevering. But the thing with the relays here is I don't even know who's in the pool. I mean, I've got heat sheets up, they can change, and it's so simple just to have a little who's in each lane, just so I can see who I'm watching and pop up splits as they go, not waiting for a commentator or someone on Twitter to post a result sheet. And they can just make the experience for the guys that care better without affecting anyone who doesn't care about times or who's who.
I couldn't agree more on the relays. It drives me nuts that you can't tell who's in the pool, and you have to go back. And if I don't have, it doesn't even matter if I have the start list, because the coaches can actually change it beforehand. So a simple headshot graphic up on the screen while the swimmers are in the pool would sure help a lot. Season best time, what they went last week, what again, personal best, those types of things that could keep up. And I think it's too many. I think it's too many events. I think it's too many relays. I would do one less relay, and I would do only one per team. Because I think having opportunity to 1-2, we don't have to fill all 8 lanes, and it's so freaking busy that you can't just look at team Condors. It's team A and B. Like, you don't have that in most other sports, especially not at an international level.
Hey, listen, we're talking about the minutiae here as well, the small stuff. And I agree it's all important. What about the big stuff? What about the fact that Energy Standard are the only team in the league to have a home base, to have home coaches, to have home support, to have the pick of the draft before anybody else can pick anybody? Months before they release, hey, this is when draft day is, Energy Standard's picking people off the tree. I mean, we lost Felipe Lima. We lost backstroker Mac Reevers way before they'd even announced to us that you're allowed to go out and recruit. Energy Standard's like, hey, we got your swimmer. Hey, we got your swimmer. We're going to bring him to our home base because you guys don't have a home base. You don't have home coaches. You don't have a home support. That's a massive deal. Energy Standard has a huge advantage over everybody else. And the fact that they lost this championship, look, I'm not going to throw controversy out there, but I'm thinking it's going to cause some controversy within the team here.
I know you, and you're throwing controversy at
You can thank the tequila for that, baby.
But Brett, do you think that that's something that the other teams or other swimmers would be interested in? I mean, if the training environment is available somewhere else, if Greg Troy, or maybe it's Jonty, if Jonty was coaching in the Bay Area, do you think that's a draw? And he's mandatory as he creates a training group. There's assets there and an environment where you can come and train. Do you think that all the teams can create that type of appeal?
100%, but let Sergio answer it.
Hi. I was in conversations with them to have Pinnacle Racing about having an ISL team here. I talked with them until I think one of the right before they had a meeting in Turkey, and they went from a certain number of teams to a lower number of teams. And I'm not saying that I could have been able to do it, but at that point I had 17 pros here. You know, Felipe Lima was here. We had Shane Ryan, I think, was here. We had some pretty good guys. And I thought, why not? I don't think with my job I would have been able to keep it up or being a coach, but maybe manage it. Who knows? but I think that would be a great thing, you know. Like I think some of the professional teams should think about having an ISL program or club, you know, and be able to be competing there. You know, right now I have 15 postgrads or 15 pros. Some of them will never see the ISL, but yeah, we have a program with 15 pros here, you know, and I think that could be the future too for the league and for swimming to keep going. You know?
Yeah, like first year in, it made sense. Okay, great. It's there. It's happened. Second year in, it's annoying. Third year in, it's got to stop. Like they can't have that competitive advantage over everybody the third year in when nobody else has a club team, a home base. If you're going to put that amount of money into one team, then you need to make it fair for everybody somehow. And look, fair's a relative word because nothing's ever fair. The NCAA is not fair. But in terms of just some disparity amongst the teams of like, come on, stop putting all your resources into one team and then calling it a fair competition because it's not.
It would definitely create some controversy if people start training together, because then, I mean, maybe we would get practice reports of like, hey, these swimmers got in a fight at practice. Are we gonna trade this person from Energy Standard and put them on Aqua Centurions? Like, you know, if we get all the teams into one base, then conflicts could start to rise, because then it's like, well, I don't want to do this practice with this coach, or I don't want to change up my training, or and that what someone on this was saying, that we need more controversy, and that's going to sell more viewers, because I mean, look at the NBA. You get a report from Woj saying, hey, Kyrie Irving punched someone in the face at practice, and everyone's like, oh, I want to see someone fight someone at a Celtics game when he was in Boston, and then he gets traded, and it's like, you know, Boston fans like, hey, good riddance, we didn't want you anyway. And so I think that could potentially cause some controversy if we get home bases, and I don't know if that's necessarily what we want to shoot for, if we want people to start punching each other in the face at practice. But I mean, it definitely would make things interesting, and definitely change some things up with how the swimmers are training.
I could see go ahead, John.
I was going to ask Andy who he wants to see punch in the face, but I think we are starting to see it happen. Who here is rooting for Energy Standard knowing that the cards are stacked for them, right? Yeah. They're like turning into the Yankees of this all to some degree. So perhaps they are the people that is becoming the hatred team, that maybe people can pick their own team, but I don't think many people, except if you just want to try to see titles, are going to be rooting for Energy Standard.
If we had if we had some home bases, we could have more Gatorade sets, right, Brian?
Cheers to that. I don't miss that at all.
I have to say though, who's rooting for anyone? Like, I know
good point.
Brett LA Current, because he's actually got an investment in there, but I don't even root for London Raw because I don't know anyone on the team. They're not a British team. Like, no one roots for anyone because there's not real teams. Like, you support a manager, you support everything here is just pieced together with, as Brett said, without any actual direction, and it's all decided. No one knows why anything happens. And, you know, I found myself supporting New York Breakers more than anything because I actually know a few of the guys on the team. And then I found myself supporting Tokyo Frog Kings just because they were, you know, the team on the cusp of making the final. But there's no real involvement or investment. I'm a big swimming fan, but I'm only really watching this because I want to see fast swimming, not because I want a team to win. I had no emotional energy to Cali Condors winning or losing. And I think they need to actually make you want to support a team. And going back to what Sergio was saying about, you know, allowing sponsorships, but I speak to the brands, they want to sponsor teams. And one team got sponsored this year, which was New York Breakers by Funky Trunks, which makes no sense. I don't know how this happened and no one really reported it. But I know that Tier want to sponsor teams. I know that Arena want to sponsor teams. And why is this not happening? Why are they not wearing their own kits? Why am I not seeing kids at swimming pools wearing Cali Condors, London Raw, LA Current jerseys, you know? And this is such a big thing that I think having training bases is going to cause that, because then you actually have real teams that people believe in and will invest in.
Yeah. I think we're a long way from getting there, though, you know, and I say that because it's not the primary thing. ISL is extremely exciting. It's not the primary thing for any of the participants in the ISL. Whereas in the examples like you gave, Andy, The NBA is the pinnacle. And so, of course, the only opportunity to go and participate in the pinnacle of that sport is to go and be part of that team. Swimming's just it's not structured in that way. I do think that we can get there, but there's a long way to go to take somebody away from their personal coach. That would take some sort of bridging the gap of each team hiring away some of these elite coaches of key training groups and assembling an appealing product that will attract people to their team. And then you pair that with a lot of money to go with it, or some money to go with it. And this is something else I want to get, into is there's no draft. I think we've got our next opportunity for the next stable of eligible swimmers coming next year. The way that leagues succeed, the reason why the NFL has ascended so high is because there's parity in the league, and the best team next. And for as long as I was in college swimming, the best team one year was probably going to be at least in the top 5 the next year, and then the next year. And it takes a little while to fall from grace. And so how do we create that parity starting next year? If there is a next year.
Well, they need to allow the bottom tier teams to have access to, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but they need to have, at least allow the Centurions and Trident to have access to the best available. And I mean, if we're adding an 800 and 1500, or maybe not 1500, but if we're adding an 800, that bodes well for the Centurions, because then they get Quadarella and Deddy and Palchinieri, and people are waving me off for the 800.
No 800, please.
I mean, but the Trident, if they get their hands on Simone Manuel, for example, or Dean Ferris or Nick Albiero, I mean, that puts them a couple notches ahead. But they need first access. Why would the current want Simone Manuel or Nick Albiero? They already have pieces in place. Allow the Trident and the Breakers to have access to these free agents and allow them to move up. And so if we just have the Trident at the bottom of the barrel for the next 3 years, it's like, why would you want to cheer for the Trident? That's not fair to them. And we can't just allow the Condors and the Current to get all the good American free agents.
I'll give you a little inside information. I don't know. I know the why, but I'm not going to say the why. Simone Manuel's never going to be in the ISL, while the head of the ISL is the one and only patriarch, the man, the owner, the boss. She's not swimming in the ISL ever. So that's not going to happen.
All right. Well, but still, I mean, the NCAA guys, like I said, Albiero, Dean Ferris, and whoever else is out there, I mean, allow the Trident to have first access to them. And, if they say, no, I want to go somewhere else, then that's on them. But, I think there needs to be a draft in place, or at least a system to where the teams at the bottom can move up and can improve. Yeah,
there has to be a draft, because what happened this year, which pissed me off no end, around February, I started ranting on social media, as some of you may have seen, but and I kind of got hung out to dry a little bit for that. So a lot of people on the inside were like, thank God somebody's saying something, but no one was like supporting me on the outside. I was like, come on, guys, like, give me something. But someone very high up in the LA Current told me that, look, we as a swimmer, we can't come out against FINA and now come out against the ISL at the same time. Like, we can't come up against the two people that we're trying to swim for, So we've already gone against the FINA. Now we feel like our hands are tied with the ISL, but we totally agree with what you're saying, Brett. But one of the big things that happened was, like I said to you, is that we found out that Energy Standard were recruiting really, really early when we'd all been told there was a dead period. There was no recruiting being allowed. You're not allowed to sign anybody. All of a sudden, all these athletes were getting signed by Energy Standard. And it was almost like they had set up this system where it's like, okay, you guys go first. You guys get all the best athletes, sign them up, pull them from the other teams, and then we'll tell the other teams that they can start signing their athletes. And it was just like, it was a joke. And so, yes, I agree with you, Andy. There's got to be a draft in season 3. There has to be something where you allow all the teams a fair chance to get any swimmer that is on any roster. And that didn't happen year 1 or 2. And I can guarantee you, if there's a season 3, it's probably not going to happen again.
Guys, I'm pretty passionate about equality and diversity in our sport. And the ISL has done something that nobody has ever done with equality of genders. And that's fantastic, with equal race to MVPs. But we have a quite diverse cultural here. We're all white males, to be honest, but we have a diverse cultural form right now. What do you guys think about how the ISL has treated? We've had 3 black athletes swimming in the ISL. We should have more. Who were we missing? Do you think it was pretty inclusive, and is that important? That's so important to our swimming. And even at coaching level, 2 of the 10 coaches, head coaches, are female. Just talk about equality in the sport, what they've done well, and how they can improve.
Well, that was my point on Simone Magnon. You guys as reporters, your reporters out there, you can dig your own stories up. But from what I've heard, Simone wasn't happy with certain things that were said to her from the boss of the ISL, which will prevent her from ever swimming in the ISL. That's what I heard.
I'll say on the positive side, I'll tell you, I think they've done well with equality of gender. I look at the teams, and I think even having the ticker at the bottom, and I'll say perhaps is my perspective on the outside, not having had a discussion with any leadership in ISL, you've got a point system assessing the rank of each athlete, and it's equal across a ticker scrolling across the bottom, of course, Dressel at the top, and then like Lily King's in the top 3, and it's boom, 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 back and forth. Everybody being on the same team. To me, it feels like one sport. It's not a foreign topic coming from a training environment where a lot of us did swim, men and women together. So I think seeing competition together isn't foreign for swimmers, but it may be a foreign product to, when compared with other sports. And so I can't think of another top level Olympic sport or any sport for that matter that has men and women competing on the same pool deck, and in some cases in literally the same races as swimming. And I think we have to give them credit for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they've done a really good job of having the meets all together, because I went to both NCAAs last year whenever we had an NCAA meet last time. But the women's meet, I mean, as a reporter, I could go on deck and talk to coaches and go to hospitality room with the coaches and on deck, whereas the men's meet, it was a lot more strict. And I don't know if that's because it was the men's meet or whatever that is. But when you go to both NCAA meets, you definitely notice a shift in how many people are there. I think at the men's meet, that's where you get a lot of like fans to come out. At the women's meet, it's a lot of parents and siblings and family members, whereas the men's meet, that's where a lot of fans come out. And I think the fact that we combined the ISL into one, men and women, I think that allows the fans to tune in and say, hey, I want to watch Adam Peaty and Sarah Sjostrom. I don't have to just watch the men's meet, because I know, I mean, unfortunately, more people are interested in the men's swimming, but having the women there as well on TV, that definitely helps them. And to have Sarah Sjostrom and Lily King and Smoliga and all these people on with the men, I think that definitely helps them. It's not perfect, but it definitely is good for them. And even having Mel Marshall too, having her on mic'd up and having a lot of stuff on her, I definitely think she is one of the best coaches in the world. Yeah, I mean, she's done an amazing job with the Roar and with Adam, so it's good to see her do well.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, I want to go to John. We've got some audience questions. John, what you got?
So there was a little debate when we were talking about sponsors about how it would work, because obviously a lot of individual athletes are sponsored by swimsuit companies. Like Swimsuit guys said, these swimsuit companies want to get in. But, Carly was bringing up that obviously individual athletes are sponsored. How would it work for teams to be sponsored too? Would you have different teams sponsored and then the athletes have their own sponsors? And would these, would Speedo allow Dressel to be sponsored by an arena team, things like that? What do you guys think?
It's only a kit, soccer players for you Americans, but football for us. The Nike sponsor Barcelona's kit, for example. But Cristiano Ronaldo, he's Nike, but some players will use Adidas sneakers or football boots. So they can still wear the suits they're sponsored by and wear the goggles they're sponsored by, but they walk out with an Adidas or an arena team kit or a Speedo team kit or a tier team kit. It's so easily done, and they still wear their suits and their goggles and their hats, but they have a team kit. And the team kits are abysmal. I mean, I've never seen an uglier T-shirt when Dressel and Peaty are getting interviewed. They are the most ill-fitting T-shirts I've ever seen. They're awful. Why are they all wearing the same awful retro design without a logo? Get them team kits that look good by Speedo Arena Tier, and that's a team sponsor. That's money into the ISL, and they can still wear their suits. So no, it doesn't have to clash. It's the same as when, Dressel goes and swims for Team USA, and Team USA are sponsored by, I don't know who they're sponsored by at the moment, Tier or Arena or whoever it is. It's not Speedo. So it's no different there. So
my mind is blown.
Hey, Gary Hall.
Yeah, I guess my question would be, what's more marketable for what's if you're Speedo, what's the bigger value to you? Is it Dressel or is it the Cali Condors? And I mean, I know that you're saying they can still wear their suit, but they have to wear a different, kit and everything. But it does drown it out to a degree. That's the same thing that you find with the French team. It's just a matter of what the different national governing bodies are allowing within their sponsorship deal. Because in the case of the U.S., you're saying like, yeah, the swimmers can't wear their individual sponsor. But then I remember the French team; they were sponsored by Tier for years, and anybody who has an individual sponsor outside of that, they still have to wear Tier on the cap at the meet. Mm-hmm. So I think you're right in pointing out there has to be a balance there, or else you lose the appeal for the individual, and you'll lose the individuals if you make it too tied down.
I wear a brief, it will look like I'm wearing a thong. So, I'm wearing a thong now.
All right, John, one more from the audience.
All right, I might have to go for two more. We'll give it to Sam first. Maybe we go around. Who is the most versatile swimmer this season? Brett, we'll start with you.
201. I just want to give a cheers to Sam for going 201 long course last year at the US Open, last week. It was absolutely phenomenal.
Sammy Hoover. Sammy, congrats.
Congrats.
Awesome.
Cheers, Sam.
Any reason to cheers is a good one.
Most versatile swimmer. Who do you have, Brett?
Most versatile. A couple come to mind. Beryl Gastadello, Duncan Scott, Caleb Dressel. They're kind of the three that stand out. Those three can do anything.
Flickinger, as you mentioned earlier. She's gone back down, freestyle, everything.
Yeah.
Talking about swimmers who are versatile and did well. What about those swimmers who are under the radar, who just kept coming fourth across all the events? I mean,
Swan medley and backstroke. She was pretty versatile. Megan Small, she really stood up today really well.
What about the best breaststroker that doesn't swim breaststroke, Sergio? Who's that? Look at that. Look at that.
I'll give you a little inside scoop on a skip we're going to do next week, but we're going to do like a joke showdown, and one of us is going to just break out into full butterfly.
How many of the swimmers that I coach keep asking me, they have amazing kicks. They keep asking me if they need to kick the way some of these guys are kicking. It's unbelievable. It is like.
Should we bring it up again? I mean,
the thing is, if you go fast enough doing it, they'll change the rules for you. That's the precedent that's been set.
But it's like you can go fast. Some people can go fast, but some people cannot move. If you have a gift, if you can rotate your ankles and you can rotate your feet, why do you want to change that?
So for the audiences, let's just take a look at the race this morning.
Remember? We didn't talk about him much, and with Petey, didn't talk about him much, but he's been so consistent, Bernie, all year long.
He doesn't kick outside his hips.
Not at all.
He just moves his body in a way that looks like breaststroke, and when it passes into breaststroke.
Yeah.
He might have knee problems, guys. Give him benefit of doubt.
I was surprised Petey didn't slap him at the end of that skins race.
Well,
that would have been good for the ratings.
Andy wants to see boxing matches at these meets, so let's see a fight.
Ryan
when Mel came out and said, like, "Hey, what the heck is this?" I mean, that caused controversy, and I think the tension was in the air when they lined up for the next race. It's like, oh, like what's going to happen here? And when Petey won, it was like, oh, an actual breaststroker won. I think fans were kind of under their breath.
I was kind of bummed. I was kind of bummed to see Petey give him a hand slap before the last round. I didn't want that.
We needed a finger wag.
Yeah, we need to get Amy Van Dyken on the staff of the teams and let her spit in lane.
Spit in his lane.
Adam and Ilya are mates. Like Lewis, who's sitting next to me, was out with them after the ISL. They're good buddies. It was just Mel causing drama. Like they're actually just mates.
Yeah, but what are your mates for? Like your mate's cheating. He's trying to beat you. What are your mates for? You don't have to be mates.
Sergio, is he cheating? Do you think he's cheating?
Everything is relative in life.
No, say yes or no. Yes or no. Yes or no.
Of course he's fucking cheating. His feet aren't coming out.
Hold on. If you don't get caught, I'm sorry. I don't promote cheating, but we can have an opinion. We can have an opinion about politics, about this, about that, but it doesn't really freaking count for anything. Yeah.
We needed a podium protest.
Yeah, we should. But like, I don't have an opinion.
Everyone has an opinion.
You're killing me. All right, we got one more audience question, John.
All right, this was asked about 50 times by this person, so we have to ask it, or I'm worried about my life. So what's going to happen with the super suited Dressel 50 free on the 10th of December? So does everyone know what's going to happen? So he's doing a super suited 50 long course free on December 10th, and this is sponsored by, I think, I don't know, some suit guy. You probably got the inside scoop. You're in with all these suit companies, right?
I mean, he's wearing a Speedo Laser Racer, which I think both Brian and Brett would say is no jacket or X-Glide or gear at the time. But to be honest, I think he's capable of doing it. I think he could have done it in a jammer today if that was the only thing he was doing and he had an outside lane and no waves. But
hang on a second. Let me get. What are we talking about here? We're talking about somebody going 19 seconds in a 50 long course. Is that what we're debating?
It's short course meters. It's
short course meters. Okay.
I misspoke.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well,
How old is the suit?
Well, I think it's depends on how Greg works in for the next 2 weeks.
I mean, we basically just saw this in a different sport. We saw a guy go under 2 hours in the marathon wearing equipment that probably shouldn't be allowed. So is it a sideshow? And does Kipchoge? I mean, the thing is, in that sport, I don't know if you asked Kipchoge. I mean, to him, it seemed like publicly he's saying that, yeah, it shows me that it's possible, right? And but I wonder if a small part of him is disappointed that the first time he saw 159 on the board was when he was wearing, crazy shoes and had this flat course that was specially for him and had a draft set up and all that. And I wonder if same for Dressel, like he can go 19 without it in the right format.
He's a total package. He's not.
So what's the value to him to go 19 for the first time suited when he could do it without?
He should have done it. He was 2/10 slower to 15 meters at this race than he did when he went at 17.6 short course yards. He had a horrible start and entry, so I think he's going to go 19.6 with the super suit.
He's actually going to have a great white shark racing next to him. That's what's going to happen.
Luke does not go by a great white shark anymore. Come on now, Andy.
Well, you know what? I'll say that I'll still watch it. I don't know if I'll watch it as intently as I watched the ISL final because I like the whole package, but I'll probably still watch it because swimming needs more things like that are exciting and just different. And so, I appreciate anything that is in that line of thinking of let's do something different that nobody's done before. Let's make it more exciting to watch. Let's get eyeballs on the sport and get people rooting for certain swimmers. I love all of it. So,
well, where's the race at? Do we know? Is he staying in Budapest or where's he going?
Oh no, it's back in America. It was originally happening on the 30th, but they've had to move it back because of COVID restrictions in Florida.
Let me ask you guys this: Why isn't the ISL long course meters?
More can be short course meters.
They're just trying to stick it to the IOC. They're just trying to move away from the Olympic format completely and bury the Olympic format.
I think people can swim faster short course meters without as much rest. I think it's easier, and also like the best swims of all time have all been long course. So like the short course meters world records have a lot more sort of wiggle room than the long course ones. So I don't think we'd have seen as many world records if it had been long course. Maybe you disagree.
Is it more exciting to watch turns and underwaters and popping up and all that stuff? Does that make the audience more exciting? Like, oh, where's he gone? Oh shit, there he is.
Yeah. I don't think they care about times at all. I don't think they care about world records, to be quite honest. They don't really care. So I think it's more about the racing itself. I think
it's more exciting to watch. It all fits on one screen. It's like Swimsuit guys said, you can stack more races on top of one another and recover from race to race a lot better.
Yeah.
And are there easier world records to be broken? I mean, Americans have swum, most of those world records are set in 04, right? For Americans, at least. Is it easier world record to break because they're less swum by Americans?
I don't think any world record's easier, but
you know what I mean. But
I see.
Like Michael never really swam the 04 leaders.
Yeah, I have wondered though if we'll see fewer world records as, assuming that this continues, that we'll see fewer world records as it goes on. We've not seen as many as I might have thought would happen. We saw more this year than we did last year, but time will tell if all the perhaps soft or, obviously the short course meters world records are the easy. I would still say that they're some of the easier ones to get because they're less of a priority. We don't see that many of the elite swimmers actually peaking for a short course meters meet. I can't say for sure that we've still seen all of the elite swimmers truly peaking for short course meters, even though, we've seen 2 seasons of the ISL. So if it continues to go, I think we'll see more of it, and that will make those records harder to break for sure.
Brett, Sergio, and Brian, you guys are elite swimmers. Did you? And Brian, you had a short course world record. Sergio and Brett, I don't know if you did, but did you? Is that less as important than the long course world record? Okay, I got a short course world record, tuck it away, or it's equal importance? Did you guys care about that as much as you care about long course world records?
I cared a lot about it because I only ever had one, but I knew that it was soft, and I knew that it didn't mean as much as long course.
Yeah, the only thing that really matters is long course. When I left college, and I was a great college swimmer. When I left college, I decided that I would not swim short course again for the entirety of my career. I needed to become a long course swimmer. I needed to focus on long course. If I was going to make teams, if I was going to compete on the world stage, I had to have a long course mentality. And I think there's still a lot of athletes like that. Like you said, Brian, some of these athletes didn't even shave and taper for this ISL championship. So they've still got a long course mentality, and I think they need to keep that.
I think it's going to change because, not to say that the American swimming is the best, but you have with the NCAA and then the Olympic, the long course, you have a huge portion of people that have a chance to break the world records or swim at a very high level that they never get a chance to swim. And now with the ISL, they have a chance. You see people, somebody like Beata Nelson, you would have never seen her swim probably short course meters unless she qualified for short course worlds. Some of these American athletes, they're very close to breaking world records, and you have many more coming up through the pipeline. And when I was a swimmer, they never swam. I remember Rock Santos went to a meeting in Europe, in Sheffield, and he broke the American record that there was nothing. And I'm sorry, I don't want to say that was bad for Rock, because that was an amazing swim for Rock. But for America to have a world record at that level, so I think we're going to see more and more. I believe they're 2 different sports, but we're going to see more and more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we should embrace them both. There's a place and a time. When you have, like in Europe, I remember, in the winter, you focus in December, European short course or short course worlds, and then you focus for long course. We focus in the United States for NCAA's short course yards. And if you watch that meet is faster than the world championships. It's an amazing fast meet. And you tell me that some of those guys could be at worlds winning medals, and they're not. You know what I mean? So I think we could see both developing at a high level.
Yeah, I agree with Sergio. Back in the day, you only saw, like Sergio said, European short course meters championships or the world championships short course, and it was never taken seriously by all the swimmers. But then you got the Olympics and long course championships. So now with the ISL, I think it's going to help the short course meters world records and that level of swimming come up and hopefully match up with the long course.
In Italy, we say short course is for the baby and the long course is for the man. and actually, there is a huge party of people in Italy that says that, and that didn't watch the ISL for that reason too. I assure you, in Italy, there is this thing of the short course.
Cheers to the Italians. I love the Italians.
Yeah.
Yeah, the babies. I thought the same way than the Italian people. I thought the same way. I was like, oh, no. When I came to America, I'm like, oh, I only wanted to swim short course yards because they gave me a scholarship and I got an education. The rest, I couldn't understand short course. But if you believe in love, and you have this argument, if you believe in love and you love the sport of swimming, come on, embrace the short course, embrace the long course, embrace a race in a 15-yard or in a 12-meter pool, and let's make the best out of it. Not because you're going to break a world record in December or now in short course, you cannot win the freaking Olympics. You know, if you don't believe in that, you need to go into maybe Monopoly or drink. You know, we can go into drinking.
Guys, I love this. I got to run. I've got to get to
cheers
another
to that.
platform.
We're gonna wrap it right there. That's it. Thanks so much for hanging out, guys. So much fun to talk ISL. Cheers, guys. Keep doing what you're doing.
See you next